We can get started. I think the first order of business that we always have is just to say who is here and have Kelly start the recording, right? So Kelly, if you want to call roll.
Sure. India Beale is not here. And I'll just say, in case I forget later, she had called me and I said that she wouldn't be able to make it. And I teased her that I said, okay, well, you might get elected vice chair. And she said that she wouldn't mind, that she'd actually be interested in being vice chair. So,
okay.
So nobody else, nobody's interested. Or regardless, I just wanted to get that information out there. So next up, Cliff, you here? David Finn.
Yep, here.
Sarah Silver. Is he, Sarah, you're here?
This is Dara, I'm here.
Betsy Towns. Elizabeth Rapetti.
I'm here.
Owens Daniels just popped up there. I don't know if you're connected to audio yet. I see Owens' name.
Yeah.
We'll count it. Jane Dabb.
I'm here.
And then Jason Thiel is here.
Okay. Well, our first order of business, as usual, is approving the minutes from the last session in January. And do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. This is Betsy.
Thanks, Betsy. Betsy makes a motion as second for that motion.
Who was that?
Second.
Hand or a voice. Thanks, Jane. Jane seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
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 So all hands. And Dara. All right, that worked. We have a public art application today, and David was saying it might be good to move that up on the agenda since everybody's here, so we don't have our applicant having to sit through a long discussion on public art mapping. Is everybody okay with moving that up?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to share the application on the screen. And
Would it be possible to share my screen at all, or?
Oh yeah, that's you can do that. So this is Rhythm Bedell, and she applied with her jukebox therapy project. And take it away, Rhythm.
Hi, so I'm Rhythm. And I'm just going to be talking about Jukebox Therapy, which is essentially a platform for the community to add songs to a site-specific collaborative playlist. So here's just a quick rundown of or overview of the project proposal. So I'm asking for site permission at 2 locations, Salem Lake Trail and then the new artistic bus shelters. The duration of the project would be a year, and then the total would cost would come out to about $1,000. And I wanted to start by just giving an example of how the installation will work. So essentially, there will be these signs like the one above where you're asked to scan, listen, and move. So if you have a smartphone accessible to you, you can follow along by scanning the code on the screen. And so the directions to scan are right below it. You essentially just open your camera app, you hold it up to the QR code and then focus in on it, and then a link will pop up at the top, which will take you to it. If you don't want to do that, I will lead you through each stage of the website. But if you are on your phone, the website currently is a little bit different than the one that will be for the Winston-Salem installations. It focuses specifically on hip hop music, but the Winston-Salem work will not restrict the genre of music. But the website itself leads the participant in the same manner. So after scanning the code, you're led to this welcome page where you click begin experience. And then the next page is the purpose, which for the Winston-Salem work will read, as we face the consequences of the pandemic, it is easy to feel stuck. But music offers this sorts of healing, motivation, joy, and reflection. And then it explains what this is, that it's a platform for people to share music by adding to a community site-specific playlist. And I just kind of wanted to talk about also why I think that this idea of movement is specifically important right now. And I've been recently really interested in this idea of liminal space, which is a super kind of like complex idea, but essentially is just places where we're in a transition. So a physical liminal space would be an airport or a bus station or an alleyway or a trail. But then we can also be in these like mental liminal states of being where we're going through a breakup, or we're moving to a different city, or we're transitioning from childhood to adulthood. And so considering that we're kind of in this liminal state with the pandemic where the end is in sight, but we're still kind of in this limbo area, I think it's really easy to feel stuck and stagnant. And I think that music is a really great way to motivate people, to get them moving, to get them excited about their life. And I think it's also a great way for the community to build something together during a time that is very isolating. So going back to the website, after the purpose page, the audience is prompted to select a song that motivates them to move forward. And so I'm still working on the exact wording, all with the same idea. A different variation could be, please select a song that moves you. So here it's kind of a play on words with this double meaning, whether or not that moves you physically or moves you emotionally. But after submitting, you're then led to the last page, which is where you're invited to listen to the playlist. And then the song that you submitted will be put to the top of the playlist within the week. Usually I can do it pretty quickly because I get a notification on my phone and it's very easy. I just move it to the top. So now for the logistics of the proposal, my biggest priority is getting permission for the Salem Lake Trail. I plan to have 2 jukeboxes placed around the trail, and I've marked those locations in red. However, I'm going to have to talk to, if it is accepted by this commission, then I'm going to have to talk to the Public Parks Committee to determine the exact locations as far as safety and accessibility. But they'll be 16 by 16 inches. There's a picture of these boxes that are already up at Wake Forest. And they will also be shades of green rather than shades of purple. I think that will be more cohesive and fit the environment more that it's in. And then there'll be 2 options. There's 2 options for materials. So either metal or wood. Metal is preferable because the boxes that are at Wake Forest were made out of wood and they're already starting to experience some wear and tear. So here's just, you can see the difference between the cost of the wood versus the metal installations with a difference of about $70. The quote for the metal boxes was given to me by JKS Incorporated, which is the same company that made the vinyl stickers for the artistic bus shelters. Another option would be for me to use the resources at Wake Forest to construct the metal boxes on my own, which would be more labor and time intensive. And then for the bus shelters, I have listed all 12 locations, which may be a bit ambitious. And of course I am flexible to cut down on that number. But my idea is that each bus shelter will have its own playlist. And I think that this is kind of important because not only is the artwork different, and that it's in this different site, which will definitely impact the type of music that is added to the playlist. But I like this idea of having there's usually regular people who come to the same line or use the same line every day. And so I like to think of the playlist will be kind of this sort of neighborhood collaboration and be this more intimate community aspect, I guess, bring an intimate community aspect to the project. For the design, each sticker will follow the same color scheme as the artwork at the specific bus shelter. So here's an example of a sign inspired by Leo Rucker's Our Color Vibes, which is the one located in University Parkway at Doubletree. And the stickers will be 1 foot by 1 foot and made out of the same vinyl material as the artistic bus shelters, the art on the bus shelters. And then beneath each of the larger signs will be a 3 by 6 inch sign giving directions on how to scan for those who don't know how to do it. So it's more accessible. And again, here's just a quick rundown of the cost for each bus, for the bus shelter signs, which if I put them in all 12 locations, it will come out to $516. And then finally, I just wanted to review the overall cost and what I'm asking for. So I expect the bus shelters, stickers, the Salem Lake Trail installations, and any additional costs to come out to $1,000. And the Wake Forest Arts Department has agreed to give $250 to the project. So the grand total and what I'm asking for would be $750. And so with that, I open up to any questions, comments, concerns.
Rhythm, I have a question for you. Is there, can you track who does what and how many people listen to it? I mean, is that going on at Wake Forest?
Yeah, it is. So the one at Wake Forest has been up since November, and it currently has around 90 songs, I believe. And I can see how many people are following the playlist. I can see how many people are listening to it. I didn't want to put something on the submission for who submitted this because I wanted it to be more of an anonymous thing. But there is a portion on the website currently that you can give more information why you chose the song. But I wanted it to be very quick. You know, people don't want to be on their phone for a really long time. So it's more like, give us a song, here it is. And so, but yes, there is a way to participate more and kind of track engagement.
Do you report that into Wake Forest? I mean, would you let the city know who is listening to this?
I can see like how many people are listening. It's on Spotify, so I can see how many people, how many monthly listeners there are. I can't say specifically who is looking at it. Wake Forest, I'm working specifically with the art department. They haven't really asked for who is exactly participating in it.
Come on, David, get with the program now.
You know, we're not interested in knowing that information so much. The interesting thing is that I think you have some wide variety in terms of, you know, how many people at each site at Wake Forest have listened to it, right, and have logged on to them.
That's the only thing I'm interested in is who's, you know, is this a lovely box that's sitting out there that's not being used, or is it used a lot? It's not so much as, but is it being linked on to at all?
I mean, I get submission. I haven't added a single song to it. And considering that it is the pandemic and people are very hesitant to engage in things, I think that it also having it be a QR code is difficult because right now I think QR codes are being used a lot for advertising. And so I think the fact that 90 people have submitted a song in the last 2 months. We've also been out of school for, or I guess 3 months. We've been out of school for a month. So I think it has had a decent amount of public engagement. I am more hesitant for the bus shelters engagement than the Salem Trail one, which is why Salem Trail is more of my priority.
It's going to be pretty crucial, the location where you have these on Salem Trail, because they have to be in gathering places, because in between the two trailheads, you've got people who are riding bikes and are power walking and are more intent on speaking with each other than literally what's going on around them. I know because I walk there a lot and I get run down by bikes and I get run over by fast walkers. But I think the format, making it so it doesn't blend in quite so much, that stands out a bit more, and the location, getting them to places maybe closer to the restrooms, closer to the play areas. If we can manage that with the park authorities, I think that would really be a big help. And it's also be interesting to see how much traction this gets at the different bus stops. If you can get some sort of quantifiable results based on each bus station, so you can see what portions of which neighborhoods are more open to interfacing with this kind of technology, because it could tell us the sort of things that we need to do to get people to use QR codes more, even in a public arts standing as the set point.
I'm sort of following from what Cliff is saying there too, that I'm wondering if there's any way that I might be able to be here in my dining room and have a sense of like which bus shelters or which locations are getting what kinds of playlists. Like maybe I can't add to it if I'm not in that location. But I mean, it's not like you get a list of facts, but you get some kind of indication of that site or that place, or some kind of connection with the people who are there, if there's a way to access it remotely. And I was also just thinking, like at Salem Lake in particular, maybe because I'm interested in the natural history of the place, like if it's Spotify, it's not really possible to put up a like loon song or something, or a mallard's call. Would that be available? Something like that too?
It would be available if it's on Spotify, but I mean, of course, there are some, yeah, you're right. If it's a smaller band or different types of music, meditative music, it might be more difficult to find. Spotify is just, for the website software I'm using, it's the easiest and most reliable. Other ones don't work as well. Like Apple Music doesn't really, it's not as quick on the website. And then YouTube is also very slow. So Spotify is just a really easy way. And you also don't have to have Spotify to be able to listen to it on the website, which is nice. And then as far as tracking, it is possible to set up a more, I'd have to talk to some sort of tech or coding sort of thing, but it is possible to track the type of engagement. I could also ask more questions as far as, you know, I could do age groups in the more, because it'd be interesting to also see, you know, which age groups are participating more in this type of project.
Interesting. Huh.
Maybe, one more suggestion. This is not necessarily for this project, but for one in the future. It might be worth looking into finding ways that people can upload their own audio content. So that you could, if you have a recording of an owl or other wildlife sounds, or even an interview of some kind, that might be something that could be, would actually give you more of an idea of the depth of the community response too.
That makes sense. I like that.
And you have to serve as gatekeeper. So like if I propose a song, you have to admit it or not. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. So I would have to add it to the top. And I mean, that's kind of, I would have to talk, that's something that I would have to talk to you guys about. Should I include, explicit songs? Is it okay to do that? I mean, I think Salem Lake Trail, if I'm doing it near a playground and someone does a really, I don't know, explicit song, then I might not want to add it. But so it's kind of, I want to add as many songs as I can, but of course there's probably going to be some that don't bring joy or really, I don't know. So yes, I will be kind of curating the playlist to some degree.
Are you concerned about censorship?
To some degree, yes. However, it is a public, it's open to the, I would, if it was my decision, I would accept any song, but I just don't know if that is really allowed in a public setting.
Interesting question that brings up about your responsibility in curating it too.
Yeah.
Quite similar to a lot of the kinds of controversies that are going on now with media that are private media, but in a sort of used in a public way. I think that's pretty interesting. So you might want to make some sort of add a statement about that to your proposal, to the official proposal, just because it would be a concern, I think. And I think you point out, I mean, I think that's a really reasonable thing to do is to have some kind of oversight and to admit that you're doing that for the obvious reasons that you suggest. But again, I like your focus on the joy and the movement and the idea of the idea of the in-between spaces and the in-between times. And so I think your communication to the public about all of these things becomes really crucial in getting people to use it too. So I guess the question it would be I know this is a lot of work, especially I'm really impressed with you going to the bus shelters and getting this color schemes from those bus shelters. That seems like a huge amount for every one of them. But I also think it's important to have a sort of a public relations plan for it too. I know that when you did it at Wake Forest, it was on WFDD, and I thought that was probably very helpful for the project. But even more important is, getting the word out so that people know it's not some nefarious thing to capture their personal information,
That's very true. So yeah, that is definitely something that I should probably look more into as far as getting the word out.
Sort of a follow-up, what do you feel, Kelly, this is both for Kelly and Rhythm, what do you feel you need from the Public Art Commission at this point?
So this would require an endorsement by the Public Art Commission if you wanted to, if you wanted to endorse it and fund it. It would then need to go to the Recreation and Parks Commission and the WISTA board to get their input and endorsement before bringing it to the city manager. So there would be another couple steps after this.
Okay. Is there more questions, more discussion? No?
I would just say that it'd be valuable for us to if you want to puzzle through some of those questions about the balance between censorship and openness, that would probably be good for us to have in writing. I think it's an exciting project for this time when it's so hard to have informal connections with people, and that this is a way to feel that, to feel the joy as you and David are both saying, and the connection to outside, but also to feel like you're connected to somebody who walked the trail or stopped at the stop before you. It's meaningful.
I think you're right. And I think a good way, possibly putting, when they are submitting the song, putting some sort of thing about, this is a public playlist, be mindful of the types of song. Children will be listening to this, be mindful of the types of songs that you submit. Something like that might kind of direct people in the type of music that they should add.
Sometimes it's also just best not to air the issue out in front, just in case you're suggesting that somebody put something up there like, Tom Waits' Pasties in the G string or something, something with that kind of content.
Probably true, yeah. Well, how do you want to proceed? We need to decide. One thing I would might suggest is that for the time being that we propose to endorse the project, but hold off on the funding for the decision on the funding. That would be one thing before you get permission from the other entities that are involved in it, and then try to figure that out. That would be one course of action. That would probably help you help streamline you getting permission from WISTA and from the parks, which I know that you will need. And then we could have maybe a discussion at the commission about the funding possibilities for that, for the project as a separate matter. How does that sound to people?
Sounds good.
So you'd want to hold off on discussing funding?
Well, we can discuss that now. I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. It's just a suggestion. But I mean, we could go for the whole thing right now.
Oh, I see. So you're saying like if WISTA demurred, you'd hold off on funding that?
Well, I think we should talk about the funding. I think right now, if we're prepared to make some, well, maybe what we should do is have Rhythm sign off right now and have us be able to then make just some of these decisions about a project. You know, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes, that makes sense.
I mean, I'm just saying that that's the way we would normally make these kinds of decisions, not necessarily although it's a totally public meeting. So,
No, I'll leave you guys to talk about it. I feel like that's probably the best. But thank you so much for your guys' time.
hold on, I want to make sure that nobody has any more questions for you before we go, especially or about the budget or anything that might come up.
I'm sorry if I just didn't understand the last piece that we might. So if WISTA or the Parks and Rec say yes or no, then, you know, we might be thinking about $516, we might be thinking about $450, or we might be thinking about 1,000, right?
Yeah.
Or what portion?
It's a bit premature to fund it right away before we have the sort of the more complete approval, I would say. But we can decide that. We can talk about it.
Okay, thanks. I just wasn't sure I understood.
Kelly, do you have any direction for us?
No, I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, I think it would help matters to decide today because, you know, you could do it contingent on, you know, as long as this is approved by these other commissions, we would, you know, endorse the project and, you know, suggest paying for it. And that way, you know, because the WISTA board doesn't meet till the end of February, and then the next Recreation and Parks Commission meeting is actually the same day as the next Public Art Commission meeting. It's just an hour before.
Let's go with David's idea.
You don't want to make a contingent?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The funding could be contingent on approval of the other two organizations that need to be agreed, that need to agree.
That sounds like a good direction to go in.
That sounds like a motion to
Yes, I move to do that.
Second.
There's a second. Okay, all in favor then of endorsing the jukebox proposal and the funding for it, making that contingent on approval from Parks and Recreation and
Yes, I need help.
Paying attention, Kelly?
Kelly, have you got?
I see hands. I didn't see a hand.
You want to do the roll call? So that Dara.
Sure. Yeah, let's do a roll call. So Cliff. made the motion.
He says yes.
Yes, I say yes.
David,
Yes.
Dara,
Yes.
Betsy. Betsy,
Yes.
Yes. Hold on a
Elizabeth,
second.
Yes.
Owens,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and Jason.
Yes.
Okay, so that's unanimous. And I'll contact Recreation and Parks and WISTA to get on their agenda. And then we'll have an answer like an hour before the March Public Art Commission meeting starts, because that's when Recreation and Parks meets. So thank goodness for Zoom.
Yeah. Well, it's really, it's really a great project, Rhythm. Thank you so much for bringing it to doing it for Winston-Salem. I mean, I think it's a big step for you, and really think it's a good project. So thanks a lot for bringing it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you, Rhythm.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. Have a good day, all of you.
Thank you. Okay. The next item is the public art map. Last month, we talked about different map types, and you all wanted to see an example of an online story map. So our GIS folks kind of did a small version using a few of our bus shelters, since we already have pictures and text and everything to go with those. So I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see that? So this is kind of, it would be broken up into collections. And then this is just one collection, the Artistic Bus Shelter Program. Let's see if we can make it work. So all of this is interchangeable. Here, just move some stuff. Like this artwork here can be changed. You can see Artistic Bus Shelter Program, and then as you scroll down, sorry, our bandwidth is eating up today. We're all home, so you can hear. There you go. So the map shows, sorry, I'm trying to move. There. Okay, so you can see how the map shows where the different bus shelters are. And as you scroll down, you can see the different shelters. And I think that's this one here. Kind of an idea. This was working better when we weren't all streaming things in our house. But you can, there's a lot of room to kind of go close, you can add a picture of the artwork, you can add text about it, you can add pictures of the artists. Here's Owen's piece down on Peters Creek Parkway. So I guess we just have a couple of these up right now as the example. So it's all interchangeable with different layers. You know, the bus shelter program is a good one just because it's temporary. We could have this one on there, and then when they get taken down, we can take that layer off and then have the more permanent pieces up. And then this could live on the city's webpage.
Can I ask a question, Kelly?
Yeah.
How does it work with phones? What's the story maps? How does that work? Does it work pretty well with phones?
Yeah, let me see. Let me just open it on my phone. I'm going to you all want to I just sent it to everybody, and we can all look on our phones at once if we'd like. I'll just go to my send mail folder and click on it. So,
Yeah, it's looking very nice on the phone as well. Totally mobile ready.
so on the phone, if you don't have it open, it's this layer anyway. It starts out artistic bus shelter program. It's got the 12 shelters, even though they're not all connected yet, on the map. And as you scroll up, you get to each shelter, and then it kind of zooms to that shelter on the map. And then it has the information.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So then there could be a layer that was the bus shelters. There could be a layer, like you could sort it in different ways. Like what if I wanted everything that had figures or everything that had sculpture or.
Yeah, you could probably, I'll ask if it's possible to tag artwork.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand, like if we had like this one, it does make sense to cluster the bus shelters together, and then maybe we could have phase 2 bus shelters clustered together or have them all. But I was just thinking, like, then would it be all Public Art Commission funded works, or what about the coffee pot, or about work that pre-existed or happened outside of the Art Commission?
I think that it would be, I think a good place to start would be city and county art that's been, the city and the county own. So that would include the coffee pot, I think. And they would include like the George Black statue that's in front of the county government building, and the memory wall, things like that.
So at the point where the works are, we could then also have the connection. I don't know if you mentioned this, maybe you did, but you could have a QR code, or you could have a a way of linking to the program,
Yeah,
to the maps program, that would give people that are just happen upon it and don't look intentionally for it. Obviously, the intentional people are going to, be searching maybe on a website or something like that, but people that are just passing by then could get more information on the piece, which is a tremendous thing to find out more about Owens Daniels right when you're right there at the bus shelter. So, I mean, or whatever it is, It's a great capability to have.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So we do see having sculptures from collections like Winston-Salem State University at some time in the future, and maybe not right now, but maybe being able to add that on as a module.
I think so. I think that would be possible. That could be like intern work. Go out and get all the sculptures at Winston-Salem State and get all the downtown Winston-Salem murals.
Well, we also had I was working for a while on the Black History mural that's in East Winston-Salem. And we were looking at creating a website for that, explaining what each of the all the individual people are on that mural, and creating like pop-ups and stuff like that. What about being able to work something like that, and like if they have their own separate website, being able to link on the map, being able to link to that website?
That's something I will have to ask.
Hey, this is Dara. I would just advocate for some kind of process, maybe an annual or something like that, on how we add these in.
Yeah, good idea.
And also remembering to update the information too, as pieces become superseded by others or become damaged or lost, which hopefully doesn't happen often.
Right, although I think there's something interesting about having an archive page too. Like when, Kelly, when you said taking down this segment after these works are, after these works on the bus shelters have gone away, it might be really great to have an archive of the ones that happened in the past, or works that don't exist anymore. Even now, there might be works that we would want to keep notes of.
Yeah.
Somewhat separately, maybe.
Well, that brings up another issue that we should keep on the radar too, and that's monuments and location changes therein.
I think
This is Dara. Perhaps maybe do we need like a committee, a collection committee that's a subgroup of this?
Could be.
Yeah, I agree with that. We need a committee for this.
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to be part of that.
What would the committee decide?
So let me just say that having worked with this program, the ArcGIS, story maps, I have a real respect for people that work with it because it's very labor intensive. It has tremendous capability, but it requires a lot of work to put it all together and to maintain it. So I would say, regards to, having a committee, it's to phase in the different parts of all the things. You guys have just figured out many of the wonderful things that it could do, but it's like, you know, you're not gonna be able to run it 100 miles an hour right away. How to start and just sort of give it some direction, that would be a community-wide sort of, would be input from the community as to what to do. Well, there's India. She appeared just in time for the vice presidential debates. That it could be a really good resource and go beyond what just the Public Art Commission to include all the things that you're talking about. So, yeah, who wants to volunteer?
I wasn't so much volunteering as just saying that I don't know if it's a committee, but to have like an annual review, as I think Dara was indicating, that might both be a time for brainstorming about what else could we add to this, what layers need to be updated, what layers need to be, what more information might be updated. Like I hear what you're saying, David, about the labor intensity of this ArcGIS program, but also, a committee would be great to comb through it every year and say, what about this, this, and this? But we also, it might also be valuable to run it past the art commission every year.
Yeah.
To say, this is what we came up with that needs updating, but what else, or what other ideas?
Quick question. I hear all these ideas coming about, and I like the idea of a committee. I guess my question comes is, how much can we rely on the city to build over time? Are there going to be additional costs by adding units to it other than what is immediately owned by the city? I think there's some other investigation work that may need to happen with committee before we start saying, let's include everything. Let's figure out if we need something in our budget for it annually as well. I don't know.
The city has this capability to do the website. It's staff time to add the layers and take the pictures and write the copy and do all of that work. And I think it's something that can be done to a logical degree. And everything that we've talked about so far seems logical to include. It'll just take some time.
So you're doing this through the planning department.
Yes.
So what about historic renovations and historical homes and historical data? Isn't that something also that your department would oversee and have an interest in mapping?
They would, but I don't think it's mapped I know it's mapped, but I don't know if it's mapped in a story map right now.
I'm just wondering, sort of how, and we don't have to decide this moment, but there would be maybe some issues about, how to contain the subject. You maybe have multiple story maps within planning that you develop for different parts of what you do.
Yeah, I would just keep this to public art right now. I'd let the historic folks worry about their thing. And if they decide they want to do that, maybe there's a central place where, planning or the city has the map where you can see all the layers. But if you come to the Public Art Commission page, you just get the art.
Kelly, what do you need from us?
Nothing really. That was just an update. I didn't want the GIS people to build this whole thing out and then discover, that's not what we wanted. So I just wanted them to do a couple, take a look at it. Is are we going down the right path here? And sounds like they are. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So if you all want to do a committee, that's something we can talk about. But as it stands right now, let's just get the Public Art Commission work up on this, and then that way we'll know how much work is behind this, and then we could go back and discuss a committee about adding it. Does that make sense to you all?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else for public art maps? Okay.
Kelly, I think people are muting themselves to confirm that that noise is coming from your background as opposed to their background.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. I have good news in that our school has been closed for the last 11 days. So we're at home, all of us.
My 18-year-old sounds a little bit different. It wasn't him.
And I'm happy that she is playing and using her imagination right now, if a little loudly.
I really love those sounds as a background. I want to record them because they sound so wonderful, joyful.
Me too. It sounds like a lot of fun's happening in the background.
The door is closed. She's not in the same.
That makes it better.
It must be like one long snow day.
Yes.
I like the foreground too. I think the map is cool. I'm really happy about it.
Good. I will pass that on.
I wish I had a staff of GIS story map makers to deploy at my will to make great things happen.
Yes. I was really surprised with the ease with which I was like, so want to make this complicated map that has these posts and everything else. Can you do that? And they're like, yeah, we can do that. Okay.
Yeah. So next on the agenda is county funding. Is that right, Kelly?
Yes. So last year, the beginning of March, I think David was traveling the country. We were kind of wrapping up a version of the public art plan, and I was talking to administrators at the top of the city and the county, and they were saying things like, oh, you want more money? Sure. All you need to do is ask, and we have more money for public art. And then I can't remember what happened. Something else happened in March, and none of that came to fruition. But at the beginning of March, they said, hey, the county may, if you ask for a small amount, fund some public art. Why don't you ask for some? So we put together a letter. The vice chair, John Rushton, signed it, and we asked for some money to maybe do a mural at a library or something like that, another county facility. And then they said no, I guess, because the budget went out the window. But I guess since I'm on that list, as having asked for money in the past, I got notice that the deadline is February 19th to ask for money again. So I was wondering if you all wanted to ask for a small amount of money, possibly for a COVID memorial. It seems like it would be a good city-county collaboration. I know we don't really have a solid idea yet, but all of our numbers come out of county. County does public health, or something else, or no altogether. Whatever you're interested in. But I wanted to bring that up because the deadline is just around the corner for your next meeting.
What is a little money?
Yeah, that's what
For some reason, the number $10,000 sticks in my head from last year, but it might have been less. It might have only been like 5,000. But yeah, I would say
That was how much money we could ask for 100,000, couldn't we, if we wanted to? You just mean that's how much we went for last time?
yeah. And what was recommended to me was to kind of stick your toe in the water and say, he said, the projects have been successful for public art. They may be amenable to this. But he said, when you ask them for a lot of money, they usually just shut down and say no. They're not like big bargainers. He said, if you truly want some money, start small and ask for a little bit, and then see if they're interested. And if you have a specific project, that would help. So last time it was kind of a mural project. This time, maybe it's something else.
Gosh, I wish we were just one step further on the COVID memorial, because it does seem ideal because of exactly what you said, that the data all comes from the county and that we're thinking about it as a countywide project, but we're just at the point of kind of gathering partners to brainstorm for that project and to figure out how we get the data. It's really hard to put a number on it.
I do love the COVID memorial idea, and I was wondering, has North Carolina done anything to memorialize the people who have lost their lives to COVID? Has North Carolina as a state done anything? I don't know. I don't know.
Not that I've heard of.
Yeah, so it may be, I know you're asking for a little money, but I think many people would, it's not one of those artistic projects or art projects where people are like, oh, like, what are you doing again? Right? Like, I think that with this one, it would hit home for everyone in a different kind of way, especially since the state hasn't done anything yet that we know of. And so Winston-Salem could be a leader in terms of, doing something that could be translated to other states. Not other states, other cities in North Carolina, if you wanted to think larger in terms of like, is it something, because it affects the whole state. So is it something we could do that could be bigger than us? That maybe isn't really complex, something kind of simple, but impactful. I don't know.
It does look like there have been a few others on Duke campus and the town in the city of Raleigh.
Okay.
It does look like there have been a few others, but
if could we though, for something that is temporary and not permanent, I think that has a lot of flexibility to it, both in terms of like not having a set location that is really determinate and being something that is more something that has to be organized. And so I see, Betsy, that the News and Observer has a story about a COVID memorial that was a temporary one that was in Raleigh. And maybe we could.
Oh, that's nice.
It makes sense to ask for money, even though we don't have a definite plan, but with the idea that it would be something that would not be a fixed or permanent thing, but it would be something that would be temporary and in time, maybe to morph to something that would change it to be something more permanent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, the difference is permanence versus temporary, and the budget in terms of making something temporary is a lot less, and something that could happen in various ways.
Well, maybe we could do something temporary using data visualization, websites, staying in the virtual sphere. And then I kind of got this idea thinking of Rhythm's piece that with the idea that of people uploading stories of their of the loved ones they lost, the people that they knew, and but being able to capture that information other than just the numbers of the people that have died, and being able to then process those files into something that could be a more permanent monument somewhere else, or even that would live permanently in the virtual sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so moving to see these, to see the kind of data translations via light and via just an icon of some kind, but it also seems so significant to be gathering people's, images and stories. And that I can't remember I actually don't think it was the COVID. I don't think it was with Dara and Kelly, but people have talked about the difficulty in gathering this data from folks who are in mourning, folks who are, the impacted so significantly by illness and loss and the economy and marginalization of various kinds also being tied into this. But it does seem like some kind of more permanent marker of humanity and the impact on humanity here. I don't know, I kind of long for that.
Yeah. I also like the light, like the idea that, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like a kind of like figurative. It could be like actual, like, more of an abstract experience or something like that. I do also like Cliff's idea of a website. Like, I don't know, I was thinking about when you were talking, Cliff, when you were talking, I was thinking about even when Facebook memorializes someone, it's really interesting. If you go to like a deceased person, you can memorialize their Facebook page and people can go back to it and visit it. And you see people interacting and spending time and writing and, and it's something about this kind of like permanent online space where it's like that person's always there in a kind of a different kind of way. So I don't know, it could be interesting to see what that looks like online in terms of capturing these stories and having a space where people can visit. I don't know, like I'm not sure exactly what that looks like.
Well, there's something that I don't know if any of you watch this. There's a series on Amazon called The Expanse. It's this long-running space series, but with just to break it down real fast, there's essentially an apocalyptic attack that happens on Earth. And out of this, people lose pretty much everybody knows somebody who's died in this event. But there was one short scene where one of the characters of the show walks up on this memorial, but all it is just these names that are just swirling in this virtual columnar cloud of names. And it was just a simple gesture on the part of the observer to take the name of the person that's on their handheld device, and just with a little flick, they added their name to this these cloud of names. And just the simple gesture of doing that, taking the memory of that person and adding it to the community memory, I thought was just really moving, and something that just being able to incorporate a gesture like that into creating a community memorial would be kind of compelling.
It's very beautiful to think about, and all the different tech and zero tech ways that we might start gathering and connecting names. I also, someone mentioned to me in just a separate conversation that, you know, we have lights on the arches and on buildings downtown and on Innovation Quarter that maybe we think about this, you know, the symbol of light in life and consider some kind of graphic marker of numbers of loss, but also a kind of citywide memorializing through the use of all the lights in the city. The reason I'm saying that in relation to what you're saying, Cliff, is that, you know, this question of how do we gather the stories? How do we gather the photographs, the images, the names, the pictures? And what's the timeline on this? You know, that this is one of the challenges of our moment, is that we don't know when, like, our numbers are dropping now. That's great. Like, just the sense that this is a year-long experience now, and it will impact people's lives forever. And so just this idea that you might be able to continue to participate and connect and add, and that if the loss of one's family member happened 6 months ago, it remains really important. And if it hasn't happened yet, that there's still this hope to be able to memorialize in some shared way. I mean, so the light might, you know, just keep it in people's attention.
What about, this is me just literally thinking out loud. So take this with a grain of salt, with no sleep, and just like add all that to this, what I'm about to say. So when you were talking, Betsy, I was thinking, like, you know, we have these billboards all around Winston-Salem, and some of the billboards are digital, which have like opportunities to show, you know, so what if, you know, the billboards, you know, they show the names of all the people who have passed away from COVID, and it could be, you know, and this is something that could be ongoing. So ongoing, you'll just kind of see these names kind of rotate. Or maybe it's, you know, in New Haven, they used to have this large screen on this one street, and you could drive under it and you'll see this large screen, and it's actually showed people's faces, which was a little overwhelming to drive by and see. But if you saw the names of different people, and it's just kind of an ongoing rotating thing where these names are constantly being shown or constantly being heard, you know, especially when we have this like say your name movement, all these things that are happening around the naming of people. And so it could be interesting to use our art, the structures we already have, like the billboards that are digital, right? And adding and just kind of creating some really beautiful graphic where you see the names of people, and just knowing people know these are constantly, you know, ways that we can memorialize or, you know, give tribute to the people who passed away by using this structure that's already kind of existing. You know, and maybe it's a really beautiful graphic that has a few names on it, and it constantly changes and constantly, you know, evolves. I don't know.
Well, I think that's what's interesting about tying all three of these ideas together. Your graphic board, the lighting, the digital, you know, collection of names, and keeping everything in the virtual sphere, is that. Getting back to Rhythm's idea of this, the idea of creating this this liminal space, and you know, it all goes into the notion of, you know, where does the spirit go after death? Where does the person's memory go? These spaces that are in between molecules, the spaces that are you know, just I could go on, but the fact that this memorial could exist in that space, kind of along, or maybe the spirit of our lost ones could also be as well, depending on how your belief system works. It seems almost a more solid memorial than having something, you know, like a big stone with everyone's name on it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I love the idea of adding that audio element too. Someone was mentioning the way that one of the reasons that Amanda Gorman impacted the nation so powerfully in inauguration is in part because it was a kind of prayer that wasn't tied to a particular, like it gave us an opportunity to experience prayer together that didn't pull out a particular religion or a particular belief system. And like hearing the names read, or hearing poetry or verse written around the names, but even just the names would be such a profound prayer, I think, to have a tragically growing list of
I
names.
think you're really onto something, and something that just seems to move across different media is the names that move across different media, both in maybe online, and the billboard could be tied together with an audio, with audio for that as well. That might be something that could, also extend into different kinds of space, in different kinds of public space, which would be really a fascinating kind of idea.
I think, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think one thing that I think you'll find about me is I'm generally pragmatic and want to execute. And I personally am generally going to be very supportive of creative ideas. On this one, though, the pragmatic side of me tells me that the specific listing of names is something that, we're going to have to be really spot on with that. And I also sense that that's where the real power in this art comes from. So often that's the rub, because if you miss somebody's name, that really sucks. And so, that's just something that's where my brain is always going to work. And maybe that's where my contribution will be to this committee, is thinking about those practical things. Often I do have like a inspirational from an arts perspective, but that's one of the things that, we really want to think about how we're going to execute and how we're going to intake names. Because just thinking about it, there's going to be people that may have died from, a nuanced COVID death, and how or not their family wants their name. There's a lot that goes into it personally, and I don't know when it does become something that's HIPAA related. So it's just straight up my pragmatic side coming into it.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, Jason. Thanks for bringing that up. And I think by the way that we go about collecting the names, perhaps if we do it, if rather than us going out and collecting the names, we put the call out for people to add the names that they want to be memorialized. Maybe that.
Any questions about that? Just allow that, and not, you don't have to prove that you died of one thing or another. I'm not so sure that that's the important thing necessarily. It's just an unprecedented time that we're in, when so many people have passed away in such a short period of time. And this would call attention to that loss. I'm going to just...
David, I got a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm like David, I'm more pragmatic about something. And I had also thought about the ideal that who gets to decide the name, and then where's the cutoff? Because once the cutoff happens, people start complaining about my name or that person's name. And then who takes the flack for that?
Yeah, I envision it being ongoing. So
ongoing, but I can understand the ongoing, and I'm not disputing that, but at some point it's going to stop. At some point, somewhere, somehow, we as a body going to decide on names. We can only take in so many names, input at a time, publish at a time. Somebody's got to keep up with it. And then when names fall through the cracks, where does that go?
I'd like to keep us on track, timing wise, but also just subject matter wise. This is a good discussion on what a COVID memorial could look like, but I'm interested if you'd like to ask the county to help fund a project. It sounds like you're interested in asking the county to help fund the COVID Memorial Project, which we're kind of stepping into.
Can we have a question? Are we getting any funds from the county as is?
We get project by project funding. So like when the county has done a new library, they've given us money to do public art for that library. I'm trying to think what other ones that we've done. It's mainly been libraries. And then the new county courthouse is probably going to have a public art component. Yeah, possibly Callidium. So county facilities, project by project. I'm trying to see if I can find that original letter to see how much was asked for in 2019.
Hey, Kelly?
Yeah.
Does the money have to end up with an actual work of art in the end, or could it be used towards due diligence in the development of a website? Because it seems like we came up with enough questions on the COVID memorial that we could use some funding to bring in some consultants that could answer some of the questions about HIPAA and privacy and legal issues.
I mean, I think if it was in the furtherance of a project, we could, but I mean, our budget's just so limited.
Go ahead. Would it be better to, I mean, I know we're doing more bus shelters. Are there bus shelters in the county?
No.
No.
And I just found the letter. We asked for $10,000 last year, and it was denied. I don't know. I don't know what the temperature is over there. I don't know what their budget looks like. It probably doesn't look great. This is probably just, it's probably going to be denied. But,
And we can
I think
always,
the COVID memorial is a good idea, and it's a county-wide project, so it seems like a good time to ask since the deadline's coming up.
I was gonna say, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, we could reach out to organizations who've done it successfully. Like in Detroit, they use the faces of individuals who passed away, and there's a deadline. So, if you wanted your photograph submitted for your loved one that passed away, you have to do that before, January 20th. And then that's the deadline and the cutoff. But I think essentially it's not, I think the memorial isn't just to memorialize one person or one name. It's to memorialize the entire experience of losing a loved one, right? The entire experience. When you when you lose a person, that person affects all of humanity. So I think the way in which we market this is not about the name or the individual. It's about creating an opportunity for us to mourn together, to celebrate together, and I think that's how it has to be kind of structured, and understanding that there are cutoffs, like you said, Owen, there are deadlines. And if, your name doesn't make the cut, it's not about the name per se, as much as it's more about celebrating the lives of all these different individuals. Regardless of whether they were your grandmother or your cousin or your neighbor or a complete stranger, right? So I think that's how we have to kind of put it out there that way. And I think that's what a lot of other cities have done successfully. Detroit had those photographs up. It ended. People continued to die, right? But that was just a moment for people to grieve together.
Well, I just want to make sure I'm clear with you, India, that I completely agree with you. That was not the issue that I really was raising. To be clear, I took it as a humanist. I take it as even as a flower dies, anything that has any animate inside of it impacts humanity. I just want to make sure I'm clear with that. The other side of it is I didn't take it as it was an individual. I was just simply saying that having us all been in some kind of public project, I was just wondering, you know, where does the committee go when this thing has to be updated or in some kind of way? And you eloquently put it as, I assumed there was going to be a date, and I was assumed there was going to see a certain amount of input, and then you publish, and then you would do it again until it ran its course. But I just want to make sure I agree with you. I never take it as my life is no more than a thread in humanity itself. And if I die, then humanity becomes weakened until they get another piece of humanity. So that's really not the issue. The issue is, for me, like Theo is, there's some legal problems and there's some other things, and I was just raising those things. I just want to make sure we're clear with that.
Yeah, we can reach out to folks, right? Like reach out to other people who've done it successfully and how they, you know, see how they've done it. How did they overcome those challenges that you're raising?
Yeah.
I guess the main question is, do we want to, in this time frame we have until Kelly needs to submit this proposal to the county?
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and submit something within that frame on the COVID memorial.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So was that $10,000?
Well,
I was gonna say, can we ask for more?
how about 15?
Right, like 20, then it can knock us down to 10, you know?
I think maybe 10, it might actually be appropriate. If we got a no before, maybe we keep it in the same realm and write a proposal that we're working on doing some outreach and have some ideas, you know, also knowing that it's going to be contingent upon stuff that's going to happen after July 1. So.
Dar's also reached out to have some collaborators from some of the medical, like folks in medical industry in Winston-Salem. And it may be that we do a little, the starting points from the public mission. And that if we got $10,000 from the county, that would be really good, because I do think, like, it seems maybe I'm just overwhelmed by the idea of doing something like what happened in Detroit, having something that is a citywide art and billboard, you know, memorialization, but also have the constant gathering of names and images in a kind of digital realm, because it just feels like it's going to be really hard to reach people and and having many ways to connect is very valuable to me.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
That's good. Okay, so you may have to have more input on this, Kelly. I don't know, to be able to write the proposal. I don't know how much detail you've got to give, but this is really I think this is really a good session here, and there's a lot more that we would have to do, I think. But let's just see. Trial balloon?
Yeah.
Kelly, I think we're going to run out of time, and I'm a little concerned about that, because don't you want to have a vice chair?
Yeah, that would be nice.
You know, it's up, kind of, you know.
Yeah, so when John Rushton moved out of the county, we lost our vice chair, and I know India's expressed an interest in doing it, and I don't know if anybody else has an interest in doing it. The responsibilities of the vice chair are just to act as the chair when the chair is missing, when the chair is not here. So you think you can do David's job?
I'm not planning on, I don't have any plans to leave like I did last time, so it's so hard. And yes, anybody here can do this, I know. It's not a big responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility.
I also think I remember hearing a nomination for India Beale from Cliff Dosel, and I would be glad to second that nomination.
I would be too.
I'll third it.
Can't leave anytime soon, right? Like, I'll be a vice chair on paper, but technically I'll never have to actually activate my role because you'll always be here.
Well, maybe not always. I mean, at some point, we will be going back into we'll actually we'll be in person again. I hope. I miss seeing everybody in our meet, you know? So I'm hoping we do that. And there's always a lot more chance for absence then, when you actually have to show your whole body there.
The coffee's a lot better at my house though than it is downtown.
Do we have any other, are there any other nominations though? I don't want to close I don't want to, close it off here. Moment of.
I thought we've got a motion in a second.
Yeah. No other motions? Would you all like to vote? Do so by hand.
You can vote for yourself, India, if you would like.
I was like, should I vote for myself? Is that so self-serving? Yes, I vote for myself.
I think that's great. Okay.
Okay, so if you want, I can do like the quick and dirty project reports.
Okay.
Artistic bus shelters, working on ideas for phase 2. Just got a very excellent, thorough email from one of our historic resources people where she had some ideas and then she took our spreadsheet of bus shelters and just made a column and put ideas for historical things that happened near those shelters. COVID memorial, we're working on ideas. I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. Memory wall, still on track to do something this year, probably in the spring. Downtown sculpture, processing that contract and going to get the fabricator RFP out soon. And then Winston-Salem Portrait Project, Keisha was here and staked out a location for the project, for the sculpture and a footprint. If you want, you can go by and see the actual stakes in the ground. One other thing, a public comment period. Apparently there have been some people who've disrupted board and commission meetings, and it was recommended by the planning director that we remove the actual Zoom link from the advertising of the meeting. People, if they want to watch, they can go to YouTube, and then we'll have something that says contact Kelly Bennett if you want to participate in the public comment period, and I'll just send it out, send them the link. I don't know if you all wanted to discuss that. We don't really get a robust public comment period unless people are concerned about the memory wall, so.
Thanks, Kelly. That's pretty good. Can I just ask one question? Is there anything happening at all with the Mercial Plaza?
Not that I know of. I mean, I saw a site plan for it a while ago, but I mean, I think it's just up in the air. I mean, I think hotels are not being used very, very highly. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe Jason knows. Maybe Jason might know more than me.
Yeah, I can answer that. So the original plan was finally determined to be too expensive, and so they are working on redesigning it. And I know that that is something that they're actively doing. So I'm hoping that when they come back with a design, they'll share it with the public and get comment from folks, you, me, and what that means for the public art piece, I don't know. So I'm not a party to the direct conversations between the design team and the city manager's office who is talking to them. But they seem to be going back to the drawing board. But one of the things that impacts price, as I understand it, is a lot of the infrastructure under the ground, which doesn't surprise me. That's what I know.
Okay. Yeah.
Apparently there's some water sewer lines that run under the park, so you can't really drop anything down without dropping the lines down, and that's really expensive. And then the park also, on the east side of the park, there's supposed to be built another building or two, and the walls for those buildings are supposed to contain the park. And you don't want to have to build that wall without the building, because the building will go in one day. So that is also causing an issue. So, because right now you just have a pit on the other side. And then when you build the building, you need space to like lay down all of your building equipment. So if the park isn't built yet, you can do all of that in the park space. You can build the building, it puts in the wall that contains the park. You take all the equipment out of the park, and then you build the park. It's really difficult to build the park first, so I don't know. You can lay down all the equipment in 4th Street or 3rd Street, but 4th Street is very busy. 3rd Street, they're going to be building Caladium. I don't know.
Okay, well, thanks, Kelly, and thanks, Jason. Thanks for bringing us up to speed on that. I think we should adjourn now. We've come to the end of our time. So, and I think we got almost everything done.
We got everything done.
Yeah, we got everything done. So great, very good. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you very much. Next meeting's in March, and to be continued. More information and more decisions. Thanks.
Congratulations, India.
Congratulations, India.
Yes, India.
All right, thank you all.
Bye.
Hi, guys.
Bye.